Hello, good evening. Welcome to State of Affairs. My name is Nana Abanamwa. This program is streaming live on gh1tv.com. And also later, you can see the program if you missed tonight on my YouTube account, Nana Abanamwa. If you find me, well, you have all the programs there. Tonight, we are discussing Dr. Bawumia'S 10-point plan to address the massive unemployment this country has been recording over the years. So stay tuned. Of course, he made mention of this a week ago, but tonight we'll be assessing that plan. In the meantime, let's take a look at some stories. All right, so in our first story tonight, the State of Affairs team at about midday today visited Isaba, a community near Nsawam in the eastern region, and chanced on an overflowing refuse receptacle. Sangmoki Tete sought to find out why the receptacle had been left unattended to.
We were on our way to Asamankesi in the eastern region when we drove past this refuse receptacle. We could not help but stop to ask the question, why? Some residents we spoke to off-camera said that was often the situation, forcing the women to keep refuse in their homes until the receptacle is finally emptied. Former assemblyman of the area, however, told us otherwise.
Oh, but I need what Tafapa, and to me say, Ebiana assembly, can't from what an Ebiana want to achievement and this you couldn't want to fire.
He added that he will follow up on the refuse collectors to find out what the problem is, promising to solve it by tomorrow.
The man said, and then I got more channel, my cousin rock will be so say, Senya, I can't yafa.
Now, the visiting UK's Minister for Africa, James Dadridge, says the UK government is willing to partner Ghana in its fight against corruption. James Dadridge was speaking at the launch of the Business is Great campaign aimed at promoting the UK as a world-leading hub for business while helping local companies in Ghana to expand.
The Business is Great campaign is an initiative by the UK Embassy in Ghana. The campaign was launched Monday evening at the British High Commissioner's residence in Accra. UK's Minister for Africa mentioned corruption as a major challenge to developing Ghana's economy.
Corrupt monies are monies that are being generated in the economy and being passed illegally. They're much more easy to divert some of those monies back into the formalized system, back into the system of taxation, and back into a functioning democracy. That's money that already exists, that's already inefficiently changing hands. So if we can move some of those corrupt monies into a formal sector, there are real benefits to the economy and immediate benefits.
British High Commissioner to Ghana, John Benjamin, elaborated how Ghanaians will benefit from the campaign.
What we're trying to do is just increase business and trade between Britain and Ghana. So we hope that in a macro sense it brings increasing prosperity, more investment, more trade, more jobs, more money into the economy, more tax revenue for the government, for public expenditure, all of that. But it starts very simply from encouraging more trade links between the two countries.
In a related development, UK's Minister for Africa with an entourage earlier today toured Blue Skies Factory and Juice Bar Ghana, one of the campaign beneficiaries located at Nsawam. He mentioned some countries in Africa where the campaign had already taken off.
There are a number of countries that we're looking at. 2-3 years ago, we started off looking at 5 principal countries where we could really have a deep relationship in this region. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire were the 2 countries that we were looking at. Very different countries, different relationships with the United Kingdom. But now with low commodity prices, both oil, gold, and to a lesser degree cocoa, I think we're going to have to be a lot more innovative around the continent.
He further outlined some challenges they anticipate the campaign would face.
Particularly this project, but if I could wave the magic wand for Ghana, it would be to deal more fundamentally with systemic corruption, which is at every level of society. And time again, I've heard that businesses, all businesses, that if there was less corruption, business would speed up, they'd be able to employ more people, more businesses would be created, more business would be done in Ghana, and that would mean more Ghanaians were employed, and there would be more taxation paid to the government that politicians could spend in the normal fashion rather than the abnormal fashion we have at the moment.
The Business is Great campaign will also bring on board experts from the UK to help boost the processing of raw agricultural materials such as cocoa and timber.
Right, do stay with us. When we come back, we'll be tackling Dr. Bawumia'S 10-point plan to address the massive unemployment in this country should the NPP win the elections later this year. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is former President J.J. Rawlings, and you're watching State of Affairs on GH1.
You're welcome back to the show, and okay. I haven't even introduced them yet, but they've started. You're welcome back to the show. We're discussing Dr. Bawumia'S 10-point plan to address unemployment in this country. And he said that the plan is to boost job creation and end massive joblessness, affecting millions of youth in the country. And the goal is to build the most people-friendly and also the most business-friendly and globally competitive economy in Africa. That is basically the thrust of his plan. But we'll go through the 10 points very soon. Before I speak to my guest this evening, let's go and talk to a labor economist and also lecturer at the University of Ghana. I think we lost her, but hopefully we can get her back on the phone. Dr. Priscilla Bafo, she is. When we get her, we'll speak to her to tell us exactly how feasible Dr. Bawumia'S plan is. But tonight, my guest, of course, is my good friend, Anthony Cabo. And would you want to introduce yourself to them?
Well, Anthony Cabo.
You have other names. I like the other names.
Anthony Abaifa Cabo, a young Dagati,
this is your camera.
A young Dagati man from Laura, and seeking to lead the people of Laura to Parliament in 2016. And we're hoping that this year, God's blessing would certainly dawn on us and the people of Laura as well.
Fantastic. And with him is another parliamentary candidate, Edward Bawa. Edward, so I'll give you the chance as well.
Yeah, I'm Edward Abambire Bawa from the Bongo constituency in the Upper East region. Currently the parliamentary candidate for the constituency for the party of NDC. And hopefully I will be able not only to beat the MPP, but also to increase the margins for His Excellency the President. Okay,
thank you very much. So these are my guests for tonight. I'll start with you, Anthony Cabo, since you're coming from the NPP, but I understand that Dr. Priscilla Bafo has actually joined us on the line successfully. Thanks for joining us this evening, Dr. Bafo. I believe you've gone through the 10-point plan from Dr. Bawumia. As an economist, would you say that this plan is feasible at all? Would it work? Can it address unemployment in this country?
But I have had a look at the 10-pointer proposed solution to unemployment in Ghana. I mean, overall, looking at this, this plan, if it's thought through, then can work. In that, what is the policy seeking to do? First of all, it's talking about formalizing the informal sector. I mean, in Ghana, the informal sector contributes about 80% of employment. And that sector is riddled with a lot of problems in that the sector uses indigenous technology, which doesn't make the sector that productive. So if policies are formulated to formalize the sector in a sense that, I mean, by formalization, making cost of business become cheaper, getting access to credits by the informal sector, education by the informal sector, all those people.
Well, I'm sorry.
Then it means that productivity would increase and a lot of people would get jobs out of it. So a one-man business grows and then that one-man sells out to the economy. The other aspect of the policy that is talking about training. I mean, all these policies, we know them, but the question is the political will to see to it that these policies are kept so that at the end of the day benefit from the employment gain. In terms of employment, we know that manufacturing has the capacity to create.
Okay, I'm sorry, I think we have a bad line there, but that was Dr. Presla Bafor from the University of Ghana. She's actually a labor economist with the university and a lecturer as well. Kabo, I have to come to you first. When Dr. Bawumia made public this 10-point plan to address the massive unemployment this country has been registering over the last how many years at the KNUST, there were some reactions to it. One leading economist said it is workable, it can work. The Deputy Communications Minister, Felix Kwachu-Fusu, who was supposed to be here this evening but had to be called into a meeting very late, said the plan was redundant, vague, and speculative. I'm sure you know Dr. Clement Apak. He said it was a big joke.
Well, thank you very much. I guess that those people who are writing of all these very brilliant, bold ideas that will provide new opportunities for the new economy that will usher in 2017 have been in power for 8 years. And for them to be talking about the fact that they cannot, or these plans aren't workable, and using all the big words to describe it and to throw it into the dustbin. I mean, we should be asking them, have they dealt with the problem? Have they resolved the problem? What many jobs have they created in 8 years? We're still having unemployment as a major issue. And if you go back to look at even what they talked about as their major plan to resolving unemployment in this country, I can tell you, you can go through it. It's about a 12-point document of the NDC manifesto in dealing with youth unemployment in this country.
That is the 2012 manifesto.
And I can tell you, and I have that of the 2012 and the 2008 manifestos, and I can tell you that not a single one of these 12 points they have talked about have been addressed in the last 8 years. So for them to be talking, they have no basis. Now, first of all, what we are saying is this. Dr. Bawumia has been making this point about formalizing the Ghanaian economy as the first step to ensuring that we have job creation mechanisms in the country. And when we talk about formalizing the economy, we are talking about a comprehensive national identification database which has unique features to identify each and every single Ghanaian with separate unique features. And that is very important. And we're talking about this data revolution as a means of linking the DVLA, the police, the courts, immigration, revenue agencies, and make it possible for revenue collection. Once we're able to deal with the formalization of our Ghanaian economy, we are making a first step towards resolving the problem. Having said that, you will agree with me that almost all the most advanced and developed nations across the world have gone down the line of formalizing the economy, making it possible for taxes to be collected, a national identification system that can identify Ghanaians uniquely, and also an address system in the country. Without the formalization of the economy, you are going to be unable to deal with these things. And what this formalization of the economy does, it makes it possible for the application of technology in dealing with crime, job application, housing, insurance, health, and of course, uniquely identifying every Ghanaian. That's the first step. Now, having said that, he talked about the second point, which has to do with financial inclusion.
Yeah, we'll come to that because I would want us to tackle the you know,
well,
all
but
of
as
it,
we stand now, the previous 8 years ago, the MPP put in place what we call the National Identification Authority. That was the first step to dealing with the formalization of the economy. 8 years on, this government has not been able to issue a single national identification card to any Ghanaian. So the biggest form of identification for Ghanaians now is your voter ID card. And it's quite laughable because this program by now should have gotten to its completion point. By now, every other Ghanaian should have been captured, ID cards should have been issued, Ghanaians should have been uniquely identified so that we don't have the various identification mechanisms that we have currently. Voter ID card, NHIS, Ghanaian passport. I mean, it's just too much. You don't find this in any advanced a country where they are seeking to formalize and make the economy competitive, more attractive, and be able to institute policies to address pertinent issues in the economy. So our first step is dealing with the formalization of the economy.
Okay. Now, Edward, I don't know if you listened to Dr. Bawumia, but I'm sure you've been reading the text. And if you did listen or have read the text, you realize that he makes a point about these things he mentioned, the national identification, the addresses, being pillars, strong pillars of formalizing the economy. Before you tell us about your thoughts about the 10-point plan, what do you make about that point about formalizing the economy?
Thank you very much. But before I come, let me first, this is the first time I'm coming for a program. So
it's good to have you.
In fact, I had a challenge even locating this place. I went to Charterhouse first, thinking that was where it was.
Well,
I think that before I zoom in on your question as to what my own perceptions about the whole idea of formalizing the economy, it is important that we make the general point that issues of unemployment is not unique to Ghana. Issues of unemployment has been critical in all economies, and that is why even in major economies, for example in the US, you see that they pride themselves on monthly basis to announce the number of jobs they have created over
something we could also do if we are creating jobs.
Definitely we'll get there. In the course of the discussion, we'll talk about that. So issues about that are things that we need to look at. Issues, even if you come even to the EU or maybe Europe, you realize that places like Portugal and places like in Spain, where you have if you take 4 people, maybe 1 out of every 4 people is unemployed. So they have some statistics, but that's about 25% of
But that's the difference between us and
them.
They have statistics on their unemployment.
I'm just trying to make a point that it's a general global problem that we need to look at.
Okay.
That being said, so for a country like Ghana, if you have a presidential or maybe a running mate making points as to how we can create jobs, it's legitimate. It is something we can look at. But in doing so, we need to also, to a very large extent, look at what points the person is making and whether those points are really points that we can hold the person to. These are very clear issues. Now, one of the things you would like to look at, and I'm sure that my brother had referred to our 2008
and 2012
manifesto. I think the credibility, because he's zooming on credibility as to whether somebody is credible enough to offer the jobs or maybe the alternatives the person thinks he can offer. I think that it is one of the areas we may have to look at again on using the MPP. The MPP generally, in fact, for me, if I listen to Bawumia speak, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that they are very good at giving very lofty and very vague. And I agree with Felix when he makes the point that it is vague, it's speculative, it is redundant. And I'll explain in the course of my argument, I'll explain why I think these points are very vague. Because in the first place, if you look at the MPP in 2000 in particular, I mean, me at the time I was a student. Listening to, if you look at their page 5 of their manifesto, where they indicated they were ready to create jobs for all able people who want to work, and at the end of the day, we would remunerate them accordingly. As far as we know, nothing happened. Indeed, the best we got in this country was the fact that getting some money from donor partners, making young guys to queue and hit each other. People were using stones to even put because they wanted to be first to be registered. We captured about 1 million Ghanaians, and nothing happened. Indeed, at the time they were leaving, they could not give us a record as to how many jobs they had created. So this being said, I think that it is fair that we need to discuss this. Now let's go back to the issue about formalizing the economy.
Before you answer that, how many jobs have you created?
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about, and I'll give you specific.
I know. You're saying that they didn't create a single job.
Yes. No, I didn't say that. I said they could not tell us.
They could not tell us
yes.
how many jobs they are. But can you tell us
in the
how many jobs you have created in the last year, for instance?
Excuse me. Just be patient.
I
would in the course of because
but if you have it, you will just tell me.
Yes,
it's not such a big deal, is it?
I will refer to my documents and give you as to the number of jobs.
Right.
But I was just going to go specifically to your question that you had asked. The question was about formalizing whether I agree with it, whether it's a pillar. Indeed, the whole idea of formalizing any economy, not only Ghana, is about injecting efficiency. And I think that even if you listen, the early part of the ladies...
Dr. Bafo.
Yes, Bafo, he was talking about injecting efficiency. That is something that nobody doubts it. As to how you are going to do it, he captures it on the basis of the fact that, look, first and foremost, we must, as it were, capture people, what we call the National Identification Database. He makes that. This is a gentleman who claims to read a lot, and therefore should be current with whatever is happening, depending on documentation that you read and all. Indeed, it is a gentleman who had taken even the Green Book and indicated that he had read through and costed the whole items and said that it was just about 7 billion thereabout. So it meant that he had read the document. Even in reading that document, it was clear that he would have known that in terms of capturing this, and is about the national identification scheme issue, we have had governments implementing this. If you look at the government of Ghana, if you look at the NDC government as we speak now, we have as part, and this is even before cabinet, and it's clear that one, we've even issued out a contract to a vendor to have what we call the National Population Register. And I know you have read this. If
yes,
you were
I have.
Yes. You see,
okay.
And this is the whole idea. The whole idea is to first and foremost really capture Ghanaians as we are with those unique identifiers that he talks about. These are the things.
It's taken long.
As to
I mean,
if
it's that important. You've been in power for how long?
How
long has the party been in power? Because the national identification process began before you took over.
Yes, but this was not workable.
It was not workable?
No. If you look at the features and the identifiers that he's talking about, these identifiers were not going to solve, because at the end of the day, and I think that he alludes to that when you see his second point, when he talks about linking up the various data. And I'm going to tell you even evidence of the fact that these things are being done. And if you have your system here, we'll Google and you see
they are being done.
Yes, and I'm going to explain to you. You see, you look at the fact that, as we speak now, the current National Population Register that is good is going to give us clearly those unique identifiers that he's talking about. Who you are, where to work, in terms of your biodata, everything. Okay. It captures all those things. Now, he goes on further to talk about the fact that these data must be linked. So he uses the issue about DVLA, he uses the issue about the police, the CID and others.
He's clearly saying all this because it doesn't exist.
No, it exists. That's the point. If you Google now, excuse me. No,
why are we Googling?
No, you are Googling.
It has to be there for us to be working.
It is working. It is because you are not aware of it. The ignorance of it does not necessarily suggest that it doesn't exist. As we speak now, you've heard of the e-services Ghana that we have been doing. The e-services Ghana is supposed to link all state institutions. So you have, for example, DVLA that is linked. You have the e-transport that is there.
He makes a simple point about identification. What he told us, how scattered our ID system is.
Yeah, so that is why you link it up. That is the issue. So that at the end of the day,
so we need to Google to find that.
No, I'm just trying to tell you that these are where you can find that. Those things that have been.
Okay.
That is why, for example, you've heard of the e-governance.
Of course, I have.
Yes, you've heard of e-parliament. You've heard of all these things. These are supposed to be services that are supposed to link up various state institutions.
So that is how you're formalizing the economy.
Excuse me, to talk about formalizing the economy, unless
I'm asking
concept,
you,
it's about injection of efficiency.
Of course.
And injection of efficiency, one, he talks about the address system. It's one of the areas. Two, you're talking about ID system. You're talking about linking up
the address system has been solved?
The address system has not been solved. It is one of the issues that we have to deal with. I get the point. It's one of the issues.
So you cannot say it is vague.
It is vague
and
because
redundant
when
he makes a critical point about
for an election year,
an efficient address
for an election
system.
year, when you give a promise, when you give a plan, it must be measurable, it must be specific. I should be able to hold you to it. When you make a statement that, look, I can come to your house and tell you that I will make you a millionaire in the next 5 years, you need to hold me to it as to how I'm going to make you a millionaire.
So you were expecting him to tell us how they're going to make this?
Before I decide as a youth, or maybe as an unemployed person, that I want to be employed, if you come to tell me that you are going to put in X, Y, Z to ensure that I'm employed, you must necessarily give me the clear, so that at the end of the day, I'll be able to know as to whether, if at the end of this period you can't do it, because they must be specific. I should be able to hold you to
let me go to Cabo now. But you said you were going to answer my question about the number of jobs you've
so that's why I said that.
Okay, I'm waiting for it. If you can find it right now. In the last year.
You see, Nanaba.
Yeah.
My brother has described Bawumia in very, he's been very uncharitable to Bawumia. And he goes on to support the comments made by his colleagues that they are what did Felix say?
Redundant.
Redundant. You know, but what the NDC has been able to do for themselves is to uniquely identify every member of their party.
Identify every member of their party?
Uniquely identify every member.
How do you mean?
Oh, as we speak now, every member of the NDC across the country can point to say that this is my ID card. I'm uniquely identified as a member of the NDC. But you know, they care more of themselves. They don't care about this country.
So it should be across the board.
They have spent money and invested money in identifying their members as NDC members. But to identify every single Ghanaian We've told them. You've asked him. Ask him whether the National Identification Authority has issued one card to identify any Ghanaian.
Unless, of course, we don't
they
know.
have not.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But they have not.
It was
Listen,
not workable.
they have not.
He said it's not workable.
It's not workable.
So why did the president say that they were going to invest $21 million into the system? Why did the president say that?
It's for the national, what do you call it, population.
No, it is
that
a
is
national
exactly.
identification. I heard
Yes,
the
it is part of
Please,
it.
hold on, please. You see, hold on. You're making a big mistake. Your government has not been able to uniquely identify any Ghanaian. The only people they have been uniquely identified are their own party members. They have never been able to invest money in the national identification program to even issue these cards and give Ghanaians the cards so that they're uniquely identified. We are saying, as part of our plan, and we are committed to it. Dr. Bawumia didn't make this comment in 2016. Dr. Bawumia had been making this point. It's even captured in the NPP's manifesto of 2012. Now, in your own party's manifesto, these are the points you laid out 8 years ago that you were going to resolve the problem of unemployment. One, they will attract outsourced computer-based contracts in ICT parks across the country. Is there any ICT park in Laura? Is there any ICT park in Upper West?
In Bongo.
Is there any ICT park in Upper East? Is there any ICT park in Northern Region? Is there any ICT park in Ashanti Region? None. Two, they went on to say that they were going to train SSS graduates from all regions in Ghana in ICT mobile phone technology. Has that happened? You see,
No, you want it to be that.
But has that happened? These things haven't happened. They said that they were going to get products to be assembled in Ghana here to create jobs.
RLG tried
Goodness
it.
God, we all know that is a sham. We all know that that hasn't been the case. We all know that these companies were just Ponzi companies set up and they virtually did nothing. They didn't provide any training today. And they have been riddled with massive corruption.
You know the RRG was never set up in 2009.
I'm saying, but
So when you said they were
she mentioned it.
I'm
She
just
mentioned it.
no, so
Okay.
it
She
shows the
mentioned
sponsor
it,
there.
but
So
I'm saying that
Let's calm down.
please. But you haven't been able to do that. Okay, you said that you were going to provide support for a lot of companies in Swami, in Kumasi, in Sekedi for sustainable manufacturing. You haven't been able to do that. I'm saying to you also that this idea that you claiming that the National Identification Program is not workable is a big lie. The government doesn't have the political will. They haven't committed resources to it. They are not interested in it. What they are interested in is rather to uniquely identify members of the NDC at the expense of the country. So we are saying that you do not have even the moral turpitude to be talking about the fact that the MPP cannot do these things we're talking about. We handed over a national identification system to you. We handed over the National Youth Employment Program to you, which had employed close to about 500,000 young people across this country. You came into power, the whole program was riddled with corruption, massive corruption. It is only in 2016 that you're going around the various districts selecting 10 people each for community policing. As if this is what is going to resolve the problem. The problem of unemployment, yes, he made a point about the fact that it's a global problem. But government must be seen actively trying to resolve this
And your
problem.
record must
Please,
suggest
no,
that you
please,
can do
please.
it.
But you see, don't also
Because
forget
you have
that
promised
you
that
have
before.
been in power for 20
You
years.
see-
Please, hold on. You've been in power for 20 years. Sometimes these are friends.
More.
Or more. These are
Well,
friends.
regarding
I'm
PNDC.
saying to
Oh,
you,
we
that is your record.
National Liberation Council.
I
should
mean, how can you go?
What are you talking about?
You see, this party has
Okay.
been in power longer than any political party or political tradition in this country since independence. This party. But you see, they still have the turpitude. They still have the morality to even be talking about another party's record. You have been in power. If you had made any major investment in resolving the youth unemployment program, the NPP wouldn't have come to have to set up a national youth employment program, which you criticize. Today we spent, just within 2012 alone, we spent 1 billion cedis, which went down the drain. We saw no jobs. We saw all manner of cacophony of jobs that were created.
And you know why
youth in
that
Gollywood, youth in bicycle riding, youth in gold mining, and youth in Galamsey, and all
Cabo,
sorts of things.
Cabo, he had a
I mean, this is
question
the
for
point.
you earlier.
Which is?
I don't know if you want to address that. But he said that Dr. Bawumia failed to tell us exactly what he was going to do or how he was going to achieve, for instance.
The formalization of the economy?
Yeah.
I mean, it is very clear.
It is clear,
It
but
is very clear that
he said the reason is redundant because
No, it's
if
not
you're
redundant.
telling an unemployed youth that you're going to formalize the economy because it is targeted at solving the unemployment
You see, if you
crisis
don't know,
we have in
the
this
lady, let me deal with that question. The lady, when she was talking about when she was responding to the issue, said that 80% of
The informal sector.
80% of Ghana's skills, or skills training comes from the informal sector. Very unregulated sector in this country, and therefore the formalization of the economy will be able to identify uniquely hairdressers in this country, will be able to identify uniquely vulcanizers in this country, will be able to identify, and therefore policies can be channeled. And of course, credit for no, please, please. It is important. It's important. When you formalize an economy, every Ghanaian will be able to tell you what I do.
But if you do that, you will be able to get everyone to pay taxes.
I agree. But you see, we're talking about we're not talking about
it is data. It's all about data. If you don't have the data, you can't analyze.
About raking in more revenue. We're talking about job creation. The point is that if you
but the first step in job creation is to formalize the economy.
If you inject efficiency into it, I don't have, and that's why I stated my.
But if you don't have the plan, how do you inject efficiency?
I don't dispute that. The question is that
at least you don't dispute something.
Yes. At least after you have done that, tell me that in formalizing the economy, how do you see? Because I want to know. I'm not saying that what you're saying is not true.
No, but if you're talking about a 10-point plan,
how are you creating the job for me?
We're talking
and
about
how many jobs you want to create. And then we will know that.
No, but we're talking about a 10-point plan.
We're talking about the election year.
We're talking about a 10-point plan. I mentioned to you
so what he's saying is that
documents here for their 8 years in power,
I'll come to him very soon.
Able to deal with it.
So what he's basically saying is that at the end of this, Dr. Bawumia'S should have told us the number of jobs that would be created if we go according to the...
Thousands of jobs. We can't even count them.
Thousands of jobs.
I'm telling you, thousands.
I can equally go and start.
Because you see, let me tell you, the first step in dealing with this issue in our country is to develop data. Is to make sure that you formalize the economy, you identify every person.
New government.
Then why are you not doing it?
That's what we are doing. That's why it is redundant.
8 years on, you are not doing it. 8 years in power, you have the power, but you're not doing it.
Have you done it?
I mean, but what are you saying now?
He hasn't said anything.
He hasn't said anything.
He has
spoken about one. He has spoken about the national identification database.
Important.
Yes, and I've told you that even a contract has been awarded for that. So it is.
You are still talking about contract.
You're not telling us what has been done. You are telling us what is being done and what is to be done. Let me ask you a question.
So you want to tell me the award of contract is not something that has been done?
It is something that has been done. How many jobs have you created for the awarding of
contract? We're talking about interconnecting agencies in terms of having a database
that will centralize the
How
many jobs
have you
created as a result of that?
Look, let me now give you.
Let me. I'm going to.
Good. Let me
Where
tell
are you getting this data
I'm
from?
just getting it from our famous green book, and I'm going to tell you because that is the formal document.
Okay.
Now let's start first with the Kumasi Shoe Factory, which is key.
No. Don't take me through.
I'm going to take you. If you don't want that,
tell me.
You are uncomfortable with that statement because that is the truth.
I'm uncomfortable. No, I don't care. How is that?
Let me state it.
Tell me. I asked you a simple question. No, how am I uncomfortable?
Because you want me to tell you the job.
I
want to even go to the Kumasi Shoe Factory.
I didn't ask you to be specific.
So if you want
how many jobs have you created in the last year?
None. That's what I've just said.
None.
I want to give you the breakdown.
So I should do the calculation?
No, I just even give you specifics. For example, I tell you the shoe
if I
factory.
need the specifics, I'll ask you. But Edward, just tell me, how many jobs have you created in the last year? In fact, in 8 years, how many jobs have you created?
It's a very difficult.
Look, let me give you.
Okay.
Let me give you. Just
you have a figure for me?
Yes, I have a figure for you.
Okay, please.
If you were to look at even SSNIT, SSNIT is the place where all new jobs are. For example, if you were to employ somebody at your station here, you will go there to do because you have to pay SSNIT contribution.
Absolutely.
Based on even the data there, we are talking about 364,000 people from 2009.
So what teachers?
We are just looking
jobs
at
you have created.
Yeah, I'm just saying because in the first place,
doctors,
if I get employed by GH1, you created a job for me.
But you are why do you reduce job creation? Why do you reduce job creation to form?
No. I'm asking you a simple question. So 364,000.
Yes, please.
According to SSNIT.
Yes. Indeed, it's 364,665.
665. Okay.
From new jobs, from new companies that were registered. And that's 19,032.
Fantastic.
Good.
Okay. So how many jobs?
I just told you 365,665. That's those that have been registered. No.
Okay.
You see, I think that
those that have been registered.
I think that you don't take unemployed people to SSNIT to go and register.
No. I'm asking
Hold on. Do you agree on that fact?
You're saying that 364.
I'm just using SSNIT.
Edward, you're getting very hyper.
Yes.
I'm asking you a simple question.
You're
saying that based on your records from SSNIT,
yes,
364,000. So these are the jobs you have created in the last 8 years.
Based on the SSNIT records.
Based on the
SSNIT records.
Then,
so
in addition to this, that's why I then wanted to go to certain specifics. Because we must admit
in the
that
informal
we do not,
sector.
Yes.
So this is the formal sector?
No.
Actually, this is the
formal sector, yes.
Okay, formal sector.
So the informal sector, which is the big chunk of...
No, hold on. Let me make a point.
Okay.
But indeed, you realize that I had indicated very clearly that one of the challenges that we have in this country is the fact that we cannot just go on the system and press and know that we have X number of people.
So you need to formalize the
economy. So I agree. And that's why the process is going on.
But they agreed that, yes,
I mean, we have all agreed on that.
We had agreed on
it's key. We had all agreed on that.
We had agreed on that.
But I then went further to indicate that even with that, there are some areas we can specifically state the type of jobs we have created.
Okay.
If you were to look at...
So if you put all that together, can we say confidently that the government has created about 1 million jobs?
Yes, that I can say.
That I
can say. Because for the infrastructure...
500,000 jobs?
No, I said 1 million. That, yes.
I said 1 million.
You see, you know why I'm saying that? If you were to look at the Bawumia'S
you remember in 2009,
Okujeto said that they have created
1.6 million.
So calculate it per year. But now they've created 6.4.
You can choose to come and sit here and I'll sit there.
No.
Because if you want, you can come and sit here and I'll sit there. If you want to be part of, him, no,
I don't think
if you want to be part of it, go and be there. You can sit there. But in any case, no, I'm being fair. Because the point is that
I think that Mr. Bauer is distracting the program.
No, the point is that somebody has stated a 10-point plan as to how he's going to create jobs. We want to subject that to scrutiny. You have left the points that we have to subject to scrutiny.
We will come to that.
You have left that, and you want to come and talk about this.
You are saying that when they left office,
so you have left even your own topic.
No, I haven't. You cannot tell me that because you said claimed that when the NPP left office, they couldn't boast of the number of jobs they had created.
I said they could not even tell us.
Exactly. It's the same thing.
I didn't say they couldn't go. There are two different statements.
Okay. So, and you are telling me
500,000.
That was a job.
Yes.
That was job.
Today you are talking about jobs.
Okay, wait.
No, we have never used YE as a basis.
But you are recruiting people now.
There's no point in being aggressive.
Yes.
Just calm down.
There are no jobs.
You don't have to be aggressive.
No, I just want to tell you that.
No, you
I just want to draw your attention that
because you are saying he can't intimidate
the topic you brought was to put Bawumia'S statements.
No, because you said it was redundant.
Yes.
So because if you say it's redundant,
and I've told you that. I've told you that it's redundant for first.
And
because the point he's trying to make about registration, we are doing it already. So it's a redundant point.
No, it's not.
We have made that.
Edward, assuming it's redundant, that is what I'm asking you. If it's not redundant and your plans are not redundant but very workable, that's what I'm asking you. How many jobs have you created in the last 8 years? You're saying by your estimate.
So, and I said, and I when I was going to state those and even give you specifics, you were uncomfortable with
me and uncomfortable.
Yes.
I asked you the question that I want you to answer.
Let me say this.
Wait. So that 1.6 million we're told in 2009
is a lie.
Was a lie.
It's a big lie.
By who?
Samuel Okujeto, Deputy Minister of Information at the time.
He said that one.
Yes, on
You didn't hear it?
It was all over the place. That this government has created in 1 year 1.6 million jobs. And we told him, by the close of 2012, you would have created 6.4 million jobs.
Let's go on to the second
But you see, let me make this quick point. You see,
financial inclusion.
Let me make this quick point. Before I get to financial inclusion, let me make this quick point. You see, our friends on the other side, this business of procrastination, always thinking that, you know, you can say, oh, you are doing it, and therefore, that's it. 8 years on, you've been in power for 8 years. You haven't been able to issue a single ID card for any Ghanaian. All you have been able to do is to take up... Oh, please. So you're better than... No, don't worry. I had the opportunity. I gave you all the chance to speak. I gave you all the opportunity to speak. I gave you all I gave you all the opportunities to speak.
All right, let's move on.
That to start off, we need to ensure that financial inclusion is key because
the
number of people... And I'm going to the next point. I'm going to the next point.
Inclusion.
The second key point is what? Financial inclusion. And by financial inclusion, we're talking about bringing the unbanked population into the banking sector. What that does in the first place is that it provides a lot of savings. It brings a lot of Ghanaians who hitherto are not in the banking sector will now be captured. Don't forget, we handed over the e-switch program to this government, which was supposed to deal with the financial inclusion bit. As we speak, e-switch has been under-resourced. E-switch is not getting the national coverage it needs. It is not pushing as much as possible of getting people into the financial sector. And you see, the benefits of financial inclusion is this. The moment you bring people, once you formalize the economy and you bring people into the banking sector, it opens up and reduces a lot of interest rates and also ensures that a lot of financial discipline in the economy. That means that banks will be getting deposits, people will be saving their money, people will bring the little they have under their beds.
How is he going to do that?
E-switch is the easiest way to go about it. And e-switch is so, look, go to East Africa, go to Kenya, go to South Africa. Even rural people transact business right down. Today, MTN, it's all over this country. And yet still, we are unable to get Ghanaians onto the banking sector because MTN seems to be providing mobile money, which is getting banking funds transactions right down at the rural areas. We think that government must take up this policy as a national policy, get the right commitment, get the right resources, and make sure that the e-switch program is a compulsory program which every Ghanaian will have to get into the bank. And
so
therefore, we'll be bringing...
That is what he means when he said that there will be a deliberate policy to spur inclusion.
That's the point. It has to be deliberate. I mean, every Ghanaian worker will have to be paid through the e-switch wallet. Every Ghanaian employer will have to have an e-switch account. Every government employer will have to be on this point. And we are saying that even school fees, cocoa farmers, all over the country must get involved in this. And there has to be a national program. But you can only do that once you start or you deal with the issue of formalizing the Ghanaian economy. And we thought that is why in 2008 we handed over the e-switch program to this government, handed over the national identification program in this government, all together, thinking that they were going to follow through with this 8 years on. They have not. They haven't done that. And so for them to think that the idea is hollow, it has been hollow ever since you took over office because you never failed. You failed to continue with these programs, with lofty ideas which we left for you. 8 years on, you are telling Ghanaian people you have issued a contract. Tell me, have you issued another e-switch contract? Have you issued another e-switch contract? Certainly not.
Let him make his point, then we can go for some messages and take a break.
You see, first and foremost, we need to recognize that if you look at even general in terms of the financial sector, if you take even mobile money, this, how do you call it here, the mobile money that you do, currently as we speak in this country, that industry alone is about a $5 billion Ghana city industry. Where people today, you realize that from villages, maybe from your Laura to Nandom, the person will not have to even give it to somebody at the station to send it. He will just use mobile money to be able to transfer that.
And that's an NDC government initiative?
I'm telling you that
this is a government initiative?
No.
Well, they've created the environment. If the environment is conducive, all of that...
No. The government has to create the enabling environment for the private sector to
No. But we cannot say what the private company is doing is financial inclusion. I mean, you can't say that.
He's just answering your question about
it's unacceptable. It's a moot
point.
All the things that Bawumia has captured are things that have been already played.
Edward, I'm sorry. Let me cut in here. Take some messages. When we come back, I'll give you the chance. It will give you an opportunity to calm down. You've been very aggressive this evening. Anyway, okay, can you listen to the messages, please? All right. I'll start off with I don't get what your name is, but this is your message. The government has invested in ID of each member of the party, but shying away from proper IDing Ghanaians, or giving Ghanaians identification cards. John Tete says, Mr. Bawa is not factual, accurate, and consistent in his submissions. This may be due to propaganda. While it's prudent, Nana, I firmly support Cabo, and I'm ashamed of the argument the NDC man is making. NPP 100% here. Benjamin Yemo says, Edward is gasping for breath just to punch holes into Dr. Bawumia'S policy. I think, well, the last part of your message, Benjamin, if we can keep it very civil, I'm sorry. Abdullah Mohammed says, Nana, you're making it difficult for the NDC man. I'm not making it. He's making things difficult for him.
I think it's not easy. The topic is a tough one. You know, when Bawumia speaks, it ruffles feathers.
Okay, so Benjamin says it's very funny how the NDC poo-poos any policy from Dr. Bawumia, whilst their records look very hollow and shallow. Hi, Nanaba, kindly ask Cabo, the SHS he attended. Oh, there's a heated argument here, and I know him to be a Carolian. Well,
I went to St. Charles Minor Seminary. You know, there are 3 satellite minor seminary schools in the 3 northern regions.
Right.
Notre Dame.
So you're from the same school?
Yeah, Upper West in St. Francis Xavier, and in Tamale.
No,
you know, St. Charles Minor Seminary.
So you're from the same school?
So we're from the same alma mater.
Senior?
Oh, I'm a senior. I'm a senior too. Oh, this guy, he's just big for nothing.
It's most unfair. You were a student activist at the time. I became a student activist myself.
He says you're big for nothing.
No, that can't be true.
Okay, can we get a one-party state to prevent this cacophony of confusion from our political parties in developing our country? This is from Michael Sumaila. Nambi Patrick. State of Affairs is an interesting and educative program on TV. He says, change your GH1 TV if you haven't already. Thumbs up to Nanaba. Thank you very much. And then there's another one here from Daniel. For the fact that this government has boldly embargoed unemployment, trust me, the youth will vote massively against them. Francis Opoku says, Nanaba, why are you doing this to Edward? He's telling the truth. The NPP's policy to tackle unemployment is vague. I don't even understand what Dr. Bawumi'a says half the time. Well, Presla Amanya says that I'm so ashamed that the NDC cannot tell us the number of jobs they have created in the last 8 years. He says 1 million.
No, he says 364,000.
No, for the
yes,
formal
because
sector.
I was looking at
then
yes.
He says for the informal sector.
very
I was
lazy
just
way
giving
of-
you an example. For
It's a
example.
very
Like, if
lazy
you were
way
to
of
look at
looking
it,
at
and that's the third one of the points that
We'll come to
Bawumia
that.
makes. Talking about creating jobs using
But
investment in infrastructure.
you're
the same
saying
infrastructure that he pushes around.
Edward, so you're saying that 1.6 million figure we got in 2009 was not accurate?
We have not captured it in our green book, have we? What we have
I'm
captured
asking
now
you
clearly
something.
I'm
indicates.
asking you
I am
something.
just trying to tell you
said
that
1
I
million.
can't because
So
I
1
can't defend
million in 8 years.
I can't know.
Is that enough?
You see, I can't defend the 1.5
Okay,
million
fine.
thing. I can't defend it.
Oh, so
Okay.
you can't defend the deputy minister?
I'm not saying that. No, he will be able to look. I don't have the data here to defend it. That's
No,
the
but
point
that
I'm making.
argument fell flat in Parliament.
Okay, wait.
I am just saying
Edward,
that I don't have the
Edward,
data
but
here to defend it.
1 million in 8 years is woefully
drop in the
inadequate.
ocean. It's a drop
I
in the
told you that. Listen to me.
Okay.
drop
I
in
made
the ocean.
the point. I made the point that we have a challenge in capturing
Data.
and
Because
But
even the
you see,
president told us that
yes.
we didn't know the unemployment rate.
Yes,
for instance.
we have a challenge in doing
have-
that.
okay.
But when you look at specific interventions, you can make your judgment.
Okay.
And that's why when
Okay,
we
let's
come to
take
these
a break.
infrastructure
We'll come to
issues,
that.
we would look
Okay.
at it.
We're taking a short break. Still contribute to the discussion. The hashtag is State of Affairs. Is a senior and a junior tonight. We'll be right back. We are
We'll
back.
boycott. Sure.
All right,
We
calm
don't
down.
boycott.
All right, we are back. We go to the next point. Well, there's a number of them. There's diversifying the export base and developing the property market.
Which is key.
Then there's
key
also
point.
developing the mortgage market.
Key point.
A key to awakening the debt capital market, as
That's
Dr. Bawumia puts it. Then there's a trade policy to encourage growth, macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability, increased infrastructure, addressing corruption, prioritizing agriculture, value addition to raw materials, and investing in skills training and research. I'd want to skip, because of the lack of time, to increase infrastructure. And then we can look at addressing corruption and then agriculture. Okay. Bawa, you take over.
Yeah, thank you very much. On the issue of infrastructure, Bawumia claims that if you were to invest heavily in the infrastructure sector, you will be able to create jobs. Mm-hmm. Again, this is something that if you were to look at the rhetoric of Bawumia and the NPP over the past year, you will know very clearly that they have, on every occasion and any chance they get, to indicate that investing in infrastructure was nothing new. Let me state here very clearly that based on records available.
Well, President Mahama said that before, then, hey? That roads construction and only a bit.
You see,
to
no,
quote him.
it's
infrastructure,
when you are quoting somebody or you are paraphrasing somebody, you need to put it within. You need not context.
Do you know what context
No,
is?
you need to say
when
no.
you
No,
keep
context.
saying that he said all die be die.
No, hold on.
Don't you take him out of context?
You see, you are more of. I'll say it again. You are more of a.
No, because I want to put it right, because you don't approbate and reprobate.
No,
you can't do that.
Remember, I said the man when he indicated that just using infrastructure as a basis of in itself was exercise in mediocrity, but he goes further to say that even with that, if we want to compare these two things, we are better. He indicated that. So you don't quote the man halfway and leave it just because it serves your purpose.
No, it doesn't serve my purpose.
So
you are saying you're talking about infrastructure.
Let me now make it. Let's not move away.
We are not moving away because you brought up the issue of infrastructure.
Yes, so that's the infrastructure I'm talking about.
Okay,
so let's talk about infrastructure. This is a gentleman who on any platform has indicated and has always tried to, as it were, run down the whole idea of investment. Huh?
As a running mate of the
but he's not a gentleman.
Party. I mean, address him appropriately.
Okay.
I think it's just fair.
Okay.
Your brother, it's your big brother.
No. The point is that to say the person is a gentleman in itself.
Dr. Bawumia, let's go with it.
Let me use his title.
Go ahead, yeah.
Dr. Bawumia. You see, any opportunity Dr. Bawumia gets, he uses it to run down the government in terms of investment. Let me make this point. If you look at all governments that we have had since independence, John Mohammed's government has been the single government that has invested the most in infrastructure.
Based on
the amount we have put in it and the type of infrastructure we have put in place. Indeed, based on our own estimation, and that's why when you are talking about the million other things, I was trying to make a point. If you look at just infrastructure alone, whether the schools, the 123 that are currently being built, whether you're looking at the hospitals, you are looking at the roads, you are looking at factories like the Commander, you are looking at airports, you are looking at what?
Sablugu Sugar Factory.
What are you talking about? So if you look at all the hold on. If you look at all this infrastructure, we are talking about jobs that, because imagine that if you were supposed to even put a normal school, just a normal school, you need nothing less than about 60 to 100 people. Whether they are
Come on, stop distracting him.
Is it like for example, you are talking about masons, painters, all the craftsmen and what have you. We're talking between 60 to 100. Per our own estimates, for about 400,000 jobs have been created just from the infrastructure development.
How many?
About 400,000.
Been created where?
No, infrastructure. Excuse me. If you
want to 400,000.
Excuse me. If you just take a road, just a road from your house to maybe a junction, the number of people you need to employ, whether they are masons, whether they are painters, whether they are steel benders, whether they are engineers, whether they are draftsmen, and what have you. And you can imagine the number of projects that we are talking about. Indeed, if you look at, you see,
infrastructural development.
Yeah, so the point I'm just trying to make, you see, the point I'm just trying to make is that this same point that Dr. Bawumia makes, you see, when we use the word redundant, that is, it is, you see, you tell us that, oh, you are bringing an alternative. You are bringing us something that is fresh. This is something that is being done. This is something you go around condemning. Meanwhile, in your 10-point plan, you try to indicate that one of the platforms under which you will
let me ask you this. Did Dr.
Bawumia
condemn infrastructural developments, or he talked about the cost involved in these infrastructural developments?
Indeed.
There are two different things.
Indeed. That's how I've made a point. He has had, the cost has been one of the areas, and when we come to corruption, we'll deal with it, papa. You see, he has, you see, he talks about the issue about the cost of those projects. And he also
that is the issue.
You can sit down.
No, but when you talk about it's an issue,
that is what he talks about.
That's what he talks about.
He doesn't run down infrastructural
development. No, he does it. He
Look,
goes on to indicate that, look, every time, you know, the MPP has always believed that using infrastructure as a basis for contest, as a basis or a reference point for these elections, they cannot make a case. And therefore, they try as much as possible to diminish the effects of infrastructure development in this country and the impact it has had in terms of socio-economic interventions into people's lives.
How have they done that?
Which people? In all forms.
The people
in all forms. It could be the fact that, look, when you start talking about infrastructure, they say, oh, but, President Muhammad said, oh, that was an exercise in mediocrity. So it's something we shouldn't talk about. When you start talking about that, they say, look, let's talk about the economy. Infrastructure, it was just a conduit for which we wanted to siphon monies into our own personal pockets. They have made these allegations. And unless maybe you are not in this country, everywhere, any literature you read that is authored by the NPP, that is always in it. Okay. And the point I'm just trying to make, is that you do not create the impression that investment in infrastructure is not, as it were, one of the panaceas in terms of what they call it, job creation. And go on to a platform and say that in terms of your 10-point plan, investment in infrastructure is one of the key ways in which you can create jobs.
You see, what we have said, and let me be very quick with my brother. You see, the reason why this
Has Dr. Bawumia condemned infrastructural development?
Well, I think I'll be responding to that. Dr. Bawumia has not in any way condemned the issue of infrastructure development. We have even said that, look, if you look at the percentage of how much they have spent on investment in infrastructure vis-a-vis how much we spent over the last 8 years, we were only exposed to about $20 billion. These guys have been exposed to close to, $36 billion. And if you look at the agreement book,
because you don't know how to get money.
Please. No problem. That's fine. We agree.
To get money.
Don't worry. It's fine. No problem. But you empower. You are $37 billion. All the projects you can boast of, all these projects you were showing on TV for people to watch.
They disagreed with that figure.
No, they can never disagree with that figure.
So with the central bank
governor
made it.
Please. You see, let's
you don't believe that one too.
Let's be very clear.
You don't believe about it. As long as Bawumia doesn't work there.
We're talking about the value of the loans they have picked. It is a total amount of $37 billion.
It's not true.
So you dispute the figure from the central bank?
It's not about disputing the figure from the central bank itself has, under Governor Wampa, a lot of credibility issues, and you agree with me when we talk about. There are major credibility issues as far as and this is the product. This is what we have having. The economy is being run down under the leadership of the governor of the Bank of Ghana. So please, let's not be talking about. I don't want to.
So those figures are. So you are stating that
I don't want to delve into.
So you are stating that the figures.
I think that you are trying to have another program with me here, which is unfair.
I asked the
Allow me to deal with it.
I'll call you when you have to speak.
When you were speaking, I gave you the opportunity.
I'm just helping to understand this
argument. When you have to speak, I'll let you know.
Don't help me.
Edward, don't help him.
I came here very prepared. You were looking for documents
from
me. I didn't give to you.
Please.
Okay, I didn't give to you because I came here very prepared.
Okay.
Behind the scenes,
no, it's very important.
Edward, when you have to speak, I will ask you.
But Nanaba, let me make this point very clearly. Dr. Bawumia has. There hasn't been any time when we have talked about the fact that infrastructure development is not good. No. We're talking about the quantum of money that has been invested in the construction of a 6-unit classroom block. 8 years ago, we built that same building for maybe 150,000 Ghana cedis. It was all 1.5 billion. Today, we are building those same things for almost $3 million.
Cost of products have gone up.
But not exponentially, it's so much.
Depending on where you're buying it from.
Forget it. That's why we're saying that this single sourcing business is a conduit for corruption. And majority of this, please, let me make a point.
Edward Bauer, when you were speaking, he was very quiet. So
why can't you just be a bit intolerant?
I should be a bit intolerant.
Very intolerant. He said you are intolerant. Okay, make your point.
You know, the point is that we have never ever said that infrastructure is not good. Don't worry. What we have said that, look, all governments do an investment in infrastructure. The NPP did same, the NDC have done same, and governments to come will continue to invest in infrastructure. But to say that infrastructure investment is a source of job creation, for me, is short-sightedness. We cannot continue to say that. You know, jobs created in the infrastructure sector are sustainable jobs. Those are not the kind of jobs young people are looking for. Please, we're talking about sustainable jobs.
Okay,
those
so
are the kind of jobs that young people are looking for.
What are sustainable jobs here in investing in infrastructure? If you're building,
if you're building, for instance, you're constructing a borehole in a village in my constituency in Laura. It takes 2 days to build that. Okay.
So you employ people for 2 days.
And that's 2 days.
And that's not sustainable.
That's not sustainable employment.
Okay, so what is your plan?
Our plan is a sustainable employment policy that will keep young people employed all through until they go to retirement. That is a
So there'll
sustainable
be
start.
infrastructure.
What is the platform? How does it do
Your
that?
job you've gotten with GH1 or EIB group is a sustainable job. You agree with me?
So infrastructure.
You're
how
not
do you
going
get
to be
that?
on TV for just today and walk away. You have no job tomorrow.
Okay,
That's
we're
not it. So we're
talking
talking about
infrastructure. So
If
how
for
do you get
infrastructure,
that?
how do you
Infrastructure,
sustain those
investment
jobs?
infrastructure.
But
How
hold
does
on,
it create
hold on,
permanent jobs?
Hold on. We're not talking. It doesn't create permanent jobs.
That's what your man
Infrastructure
said.
is an important part of national economic development, and of course, ensuring that you open up a lot of communities for investments. And that's what we're saying, that we do not agree, we do not disagree with the idea of investment in infrastructure. No.
Let's
but we
link
are
it.
saying that as much as you invest in infrastructure, other productive sectors of the economy must also see the same investments. Agric, as we speak, which is the major
run away
platform.
We'll come to Agric
Hold
very
on,
soon.
but
away
let me
from
make
it.
the point. Let me make the point. I mean, don't be interjecting me. The major, sectors of this economy that really engages the mass of the Ghanaian populace is growing at negative percentages, and that is very embarrassing. Agric is growing at 0.04%. Manufacturing, which is supposed to be the engine of any economy to create the kind of sustainable jobs we're looking for, is growing at negative 1%. And so if this government keeps touting itself as transforming Ghana, you ask yourself, what is transformation in the scheme of things when Agric is growing at a negative %?
Okay.
What is transformation in the scheme of things when you have a balloon debt? As far as fiscal discipline is concerned, this government hasn't been able to keep on track.
Let's move on to the next topic.
But you're
Point
cutting me
number
short.
8.
You're cutting me short. You should allow me to exhaust the point
Addressing
fully.
corruption. Let's connect that to
But we know
corruption.
that the addressing of corruption, this government, look, I don't know. Well, did you want me to respond to that or him?
You.
Okay, fine. You see, it is clear that this government has been riddled with massive corruption.
Have they?
Oh, big time corruption.
How?
SADA, the president's own backyard. 200 million Ghana cedis expended, distributed among northern elite, and nothing
that
to
is
show.
so unfair.
Please, no,
Northern
nothing-
elite?
That is
Of course, northern
so
elite.
How?
unfair.
Very important.
That is
very,
so
very
unfair.
important.
Who are the
Look,
Northern elite?
I mean, the whole board of SADA
That is so unfair.
that was set up under the leadership of Dr. Andani, I mean, a great disservice to the very people they stood up to defend. The very people they are supposed to provide development for. It is pathetic. The track record of this government as far as development of the Savannah ecological zone is concerned is sad, it is reckless, we can't even talk about it. There is nothing to even talk about. And they know it. He knows it.
How's the NPP going to address corruption that's captured in the 10-point plan?
I mean, it's about leadership. Under our regime, for the last 8 years, we put in place various legal frameworks to ensure that corruption is fought. Under this government, these state institutions that are supposed to be equipped to fight corruption have themselves been under-resourced. Shraj, for example. Their budget to Shraj has been curtailed to a point where even the anti-corruption agency itself couldn't afford an accommodation for their CEO until she had to go live in a hotel. It became a big issue. It was embarrassing. Even when the SADA issue broke up and the Shraj was supposed to delve into the investigation, one of the reasons why they couldn't go into the investigation was because Shraj didn't have the money. And if you look at the manner and the policy behind corruption under this government, it's quite clear. Steal the money, rob the people. When you are caught, they tell you, come back and pay the money. I mean, that cannot be, a resolute fight against corruption. Those who have been identified to have been corrupt and to have embezzled public funds must face the law. They must face the full rigor of the law. And I can mention to you the SADA debacle. We all know what happened to it. We all know.
I'll mention it.
Yeah, don't worry. Go ahead. You can. The SADA debacle. We all know what happened to it. We all know what happened to the JIDA. We all know what happened to Suba. We all know what happened to Smarties. We all know what happened to RLG. We all know what happened to all these companies as far as corruption is concerned. Nothing has been done. The only benefit that we've seen so far, yes, is indeed that the RLG group of companies have been able to pay some amount of money, of course.
RLG says they've paid everything. Smarties
Well,
has paid everything.
government hasn't come out to give us any proof that these monies have been paid.
But you
As
were
far as
talking about
Smarties
they
is
paid
concerned, we
something.
just
Now
heard
you're
that.
saying that
No, but
proof.
they have to prove that to us. I mean, if somebody walks up and say, I have paid the money, how do I know? How do I know? Show me some balance sheet, show me some bank account to show that monies have been deposited, receipts were issued, so that the Ghanaian people can be sure that this has happened. In the case of Smarties, we haven't seen any, but yes, still they keep talking about that. Then also, the issue of RLG, we're told by a newspaper publication that some amount of money has been paid.
All
yes,
of it.
that may be well, is it all of it?
Yes.
I haven't seen the proof, but
That's what
those are the only two initiatives that we have seen. But as far as the fight against corruption is concerned, this government's attitude towards the fight against corruption.
So you will do a better job if you win.
It's abysmal. It's abysmal. It's completely abysmal. Look at what happened in the Brazil saga.
What happened?
I mean, the massive embezzlement that went on. People had by agents of the NDC, Eduasari and the rest. People who had to even show us where to buy. I'll mention those names.
Who has proved that they are corrupt or they embezzled anything?
Because there is a report.
Where's
let me tell you.
Where's the proof that Honorable Eduasari embezzled money?
If those people think that what I've said is an issue, they can take it to court. I'll meet them in court. These are matters we are even going to engage as we get into this election. We will open up the issue of Brazil. The fact that somebody can point to
that they've embezzled funds.
Of course, there was the massive embezzlement.
But we see
What occasioned the investigation? The fact that somebody can show you where to sell kenke and take $150 for that.
But
you don't call that public money that has been wasted?
Where is the report that suggested that they have embezzled any money?
But we all know that the whole. You want a report?
What you know is probably not the facts.
But Nanaba, we all watched this on national TV.
Yes,
we saw what happened. We saw how monies the Ghanaian taxpayers were embezzled. We saw it.
Yes.
It was so clear. It was so glaring for everybody to see.
Say
people who were in leadership were supposed to.
Watching it on TV suggests that Honorable Eduasari and some other people embezzled money.
I am telling you on authority that there was massive embezzlement as far as the organization.
Is it per the report or per your own suspicion?
We all know. It's
no,
not about my suspicion.
What's your source of knowledge?
It's not about my suspicion.
What's your source of knowledge?
It's not about my suspicion. It's not about my suspicion. It is all contained in the investigations that we found.
But there's a report.
What report?
The report said they had embezzled.
The report said people should go and pay back the money.
But did it say that people had embezzled?
If they hadn't embezzled, why would they go and pay the money? If they hadn't embezzled this money, why would the commission report ask them to refund those monies? Why? If you have not embezzled, you walk away free. But this is the situation. We've seen massive corruption as far as that is concerned. And the president's resolve to fighting corruption has waned completely. And we all know it's waned.
Okay.
Nanaba, again, I talk, and when I'm making this point, I talk about credibility. You see, you have a situation where
Cabo, have some water.
A government, you have an MPP government that came in earlier on to talk about, they had the same labeling they are putting up. Oh, the NDC, the Geraldist government was corrupt and other things. To the extent that you had President Kufuor himself, in the midstream, his leadership, had to throw his hand in air, in despair, indicating that, look, corruption started from the days of Adams, and that sometimes people come to us, and when they come to us, we prick ourselves and say, hey, please don't collect. I mean, this tells you how the man had even given up in terms of fighting corruption. But let's go back to even the facts on the ground. The most objective way of looking at corruption is based on perception, and that is because when you're challenging him, this was what he was talking about. If you take the CPI, which is supposed to be the most credible one that we are using, the best record that the MPP got in 8 years was 36. The worst record NDC has gotten so far is 39. That was 2009.
It's pathetic.
The highest, we have 47. And I'm telling you, for 8 solid years, in terms of even your own CPI ratings, the figures themselves suggest that the MDC government is doing a better job as compared to you. If it is even based on, even in the face of
perception.
Yes. Oh, now you talk. You see, it's the same thing. Because in all these things that we are talking about, they are based on perception. You challenge him here as to this embezzlement he was talking about and other things. Everything he's saying is not grounded on evidence. It's grounded on perception.
No.
So it is on the basis of
hardcore.
So you see, when perception favors them, they make those points. And when perception does not favor them, they run away. And when you're talking about fighting corruption, indeed, you had a president. And you know, if you look at the state institutions, under the MPP, that's a serious fraud office, which is now EOCO. They had an acting director. And you know, usually this is supposed to be an independent body. This is supposed to be some body, like, for example, if you appoint the person. Unless, for example, if you look at the Sharaj case, there are factors that can really suggest that the person should be taken out of office. The person is not taken out. What they constantly did was to put all those anti-corruption agencies, their heads on the basis of acting positions. So in the first place, even your own position, your own job is not secured. And so you can't even fight the same government you have been appointed to check. Under the NDC government, all those agencies were put on permanent. They were all made permanent. They were confirmed to indicate that they were given the opportunity to have a free hand and work.
Have they fought corruption?
Oh, Massa, let me make you are talking about commitment.
Have they fought corruption?
They have fought, and that's why that's why you have seen. That's why you have seen that in your CPI ratings.
What have they fought?
Oh, Massa,
they haven't fought corruption.
You see, this is what you have seen in your CPI ratings.
The anti-corruption agency itself has been neck deep in corruption itself.
You see, corruption is a place.
Edward Power.
Yes.
So you're saying that you have addressed corruption?
They are comparatively. You see, corruption
you have addressed corruption.
We have. Because indeed, if you look at the last report that came out, the CPI, Ghana and Senegal were singled out for praise. Even in the face of
from
all
TI?
these, yes.
Is it from TI?
Yeah.
Transparency International.
Yeah. You see, when in the face of people like Anthony Cabo hopping from one station to another, peddling lies about people being corrupt, even in the face of that, Ghana and Senegal were singled out for praise in terms of fighting corruption. So if you tell me today that you want to fight corruption, the first thing I ask myself is that, who is this person telling me?
What do you mean, who is this person?
The credibility of the party.
What do you mean, credibility of the party?
You see, this is a party whose leader, in 8 years, had to throw his hand in air to tell all Ghanaians that, Massa, this corruption thing, it started from Adamu.
So you're saying that
people come with
President
things and we pick ourselves.
Did not do anything to address the corruption in this country because, according to you, he said that corruption started from Adam.
For 8 solid years, and this government, we can pride ourselves that we are prosecuting our own in court.
Okay,
for 8
solid years. Have you been able to prosecute or jail any of them?
Which people?
If the
you see, in the face of what, look, we have sent them to court. See, the only thing. Listen, and I'm going to make that point. I'm going to make that point. The only thing the government can do is to take you to court.
Of course.
It's the court that will have to free you or to make. In the face of the judicial scandal we have had, in the face of the judicial scandal that we have had, where justice was procured, where justice could be bought.
What are you trying to say?
I'm not saying anything. Your guess is as good as mine.
I'm not guessing anything. I'm just asking you to make your point. I'm not guessing.
Your guess is as good as mine. If you have a situation, the only thing the government can do, the only thing the government can do is to take you that look, based on the facts that I have, that you are corrupt. I take you to court. If the court freezes, I can't say anything. And I'm telling you, in the face of the judicial scandal that we had,
that is what you're trying to say, that they paid for it.
This is what he's saying.
That is what you're saying.
Is there no evidence that this is the
justice is being bought? This is exactly what Martin Amidou had been talking about as far as this Anas interview was concerned. This work that Anas put out was concerned.
You are trying to say that you had evidence. Wait,
we had evidence. We took people to court.
You had evidence. You took them to court, but because none of them was jailed, you're saying that these people are free. You're saying that in the face of the judiciary.
That is a crisis you have to deal with when you conclude that.
No, I'm asking you.
I have just said that in the face of Anas expose. I say in the face of Anas expose, your guess is as good as mine.
I don't have a guess. I don't do guesses.
That is what I'm saying.
I think that Nanaba,
your guess is as good as
mine. 30 seconds. You see, this government made noise. Said the NPP was corrupt. Kufuor's government was corrupt. We've come into opposition. We said to the country that we were prepared to account for our leadership in government. 8 years on, not a single guinea fowl in the NPP itself has been put before jail for corruption. Not a single one.
Because he says in the face of the current
no, forget that.
Scandal.
That is a propaganda.
Okay.
What's propaganda about this? Clear propaganda.
All right.
So what? They have taken cases to the court.
Okay, let me ask.
How is it that those judges didn't secure those judgments for those people? How?
Okay.
It's sad that you make this
Edward, I've got questions for you. Question 1.
Pathetic.
And now, but we want to hear and understand Mr. Bauer clearly. Is he saying that he never heard Honorable Ablakwa say they've created 1.6 million jobs in 2009? That's fine. Whether or not he heard him is irrelevant. The fact is, Mr. Ablakwa said it. What is his response, especially since he now says they've created 364,000? It's actually over 364,000 in 8 years. He should explain the contradiction to us, please.
It's a difficult question. I don't think he can answer it.
And I think I had.
Let's move on. If there's another text message,
I cannot speak.
He can't answer it. It's a difficult question.
Okay. Second question. Nanaba, we are yet to hear from the NDC how much they have spent on infrastructure. Please ask Mr. Bauer to tell us exactly how much they've invested in infrastructure from 2009 to now. No long story, please, just a figure.
Yeah, I don't have that figure.
You don't have it.
They don't have
that figure.
But if you were coming to
I was coming to look. We're not looking at the cost of the. We're looking at infrastructure as a tool for creating jobs.
But it's important that we get a figure.
Yeah, that's the point I'm saying.
It goes hand in hand.
I'm just trying to tell you that was what we're coming to discuss.
You don't have a figure. Okay, third question. If Bawa says justice was bought, and that's why former NPP officials haven't been jailed, does this logic also apply to the Supreme Court's verdict in the election petition?
I said I didn't make a conclusion.
Analogy.
I just said
Perfect analogy.
I just made a point.
The man has fallen into a big trap.
Yeah, see, I just
perfect analogy.
I just said if you think that
perfect
was bought,
analogy.
We knew that we won the elections fair and square, and you know you have run an election before.
Perfect analogy.
Okay.
See, we won the election fair and square at the police station
or whoever he was.
Okay.
God bless you. You've nailed the issue.
Let's
and
go
I think
for
it's
the
quite
next
clear.
thing now.
It's very clear.
All right.
Propaganda. No propaganda. Propaganda. No propaganda. It's propaganda. How effective is it? Propaganda has advantage on how you apply it. Keswa may decide that this morning or today, Tuesday, if I see Kafu Day, I will not greet him. What Keswa may not know is that Kafu Day has also decided that when I see Keswa, I will not mind her. That's how propaganda is. That's a short-term value. You may start saying certain things about somebody, blow it up, and in local terms, you can say propaganda is like bragging rights, short term, like football argument. You may decide that you do A, B, C, D. The airwaves, social media, you just create fun for it. It can give an advantage when you have a few weeks to elections. Effective propaganda can actually push you positively. By the time you're able to, the other opponent is able to beat down the propaganda, you will see that voting is up. People will see the other side to be too late. Propaganda will backfire if it is easily dismissive. If you start doing propaganda 4 or 5 months to elections, you have that short-term effect of 2-3 months. And the one who's been affected by that short term turns it round. You are dead and gone. I'll give an example how propaganda can backfire. In the run of the 2012 elections, there was propaganda that the monies that were taken by a leading member of the NDC had the backing of the government at that time. There was so much propaganda about it that when the government then effected the arrest of the person and started proceedings towards 2012, the propaganda was dismissive. That truly backfired. If the propaganda had started a few weeks to elections, you could have seen that by the time the affected party would have rolled back propaganda, vote would have been done. So it can backfire if you don't plan, you don't start early, and once it back rolls, you are gone. So propaganda is like a knife. It can be a very useful tool, can be a very damaging tool. I have a good friend, it's called Kojo Ankoma. Whenever he hears the word propaganda, he smiles because he uses it in a lot of things. Kojo, how are you?
A nation is only as strong as its people. Healthcare infrastructure is a key component in ensuring this. We have dedicated ourselves to providing Ghanaians with access to this infrastructure because we understand that a healthy nation is a productive nation. Changing lives, transforming Ghana.
This is former President J.J. Rawlings, and you're watching State of Affairs on GH1.
right, we've got just a minute to go. I'll just take some messages we've been receiving here on social media. And for those of you who are accusing me of not allowing you to watch football and want the score, this one is coming from Emmanuel Bamfo, who says, Nanaba, what's the score for the games? Because I can't stop watching Edward and Anthony this evening. Well, Barcelona is leading Atletico Madrid 2-1. Bayern Munich up against Benfica as well. So, for those of you football buffs, why are you a Barca fan?
Oh, I don't like Barca.
I'm
a Chelsea fan.
Big Barca fan.
Okay, I see.
Big Barca fan.
Okay.
So anybody who beats Barca, I'm always happy for the person.
Anybody who Barca wins, I'm glad.
Okay, so you were very sad over the weekend.
I was very sad. Very sad.
Okay. All right, let me take some messages here from my timeline. The NDC is, as usual, playing propaganda with corruption cases. What have they accomplished in 8 years in the fight against corruption? Simba has decided to do a campaign for Nanado and Dr. Bawumia on my timeline. Unfortunately, I cannot read that message. What is Mr. Edward Bawa saying? This is from Peter Mahama. He says, you are blowing hot and cold. Christ will spit. Oh, okay, that's not a very good one. I'm sorry I read that out. It shouldn't.
That's all right.
Okay. Michael, I think we should be very decent in some of our comments. Yeah, but it's not healthy. Michael Sumaila, both NDC and NPP are madly in love with corruption. All they've done is hit at each other for nothing. Edward Bawa is, well, it's another unkind one there for you, but I won't read that one out. Nana, but tell the NPP to give us a break. They couldn't do anything when President Kufuor was in power. What can they do if Nanado wins? And then he said they won't even win anyway. Sumanguru says, well, this is actually a football message connected. He says it's actually connected to the two of you. It's like a game between two teams, Hearts of Oak and Kotoko. I don't think either of you support.
I'm a Hearts fan.
You're a Hearts fan?
I'm a Hearts fan too.
What a shame.
Two teams. Well, I support two teams in the Ghana Premier League. Wa All Stars and Accra House of Oak.
So you were happy over the weekend?
Very,
Wa beat House of Oak.
I was very excited.
All right, your last words before we go, Edward.
Thank you very much. I think that, in my opinion, an election year like this, one of the things we should be very careful is not to mislead particularly our vulnerable. And here we're talking about the unemployed. These are people who desperately need jobs. I think they are emotionally charged and rightfully so. So in prescribing solutions to these things, let's not overraise their hopes, particularly when we do know that most often than not, we do not deliver on those ones. We should also recognize that the issue of unemployment is a global one. The government is working seriously to addressing those things. Government is ensuring that we have the right data to be able to take the right policy decisions that will intervene in terms of job creation.
I'm sorry, I have to cut in there.
And then but I think that at the end of the day, Dr. Bawumia should come again in terms of specifics as to his plan.
Well, I think that Dr. Bawumia has put out one of the most elaborate and well thought through 10-point agenda to resolving the issue of unemployment in this country, and the wheels of change is beginning. And Ghanaians should join this wheel of change, follow the wind of change that is blowing across the country, especially young people who are out of school, can't find jobs. They are desperate. The government is failing to deal with it. Okay. Corruption has engulfed this government. They are swimming and dancing in corruption. They cannot get out of it. Okay. And so it's important that people should follow a party that talks about bold ideas and new opportunities for the new economy.
Thank you very much. Edward Bawa is the NDC parliamentary candidate for the Bongo constituency. So if you're watching from Bongo, that is your candidate if you choose to vote for him. And if you're watching from Laura, this is your boy, Anthony Cabo. I will say that's your boy.
That's okay.
He's the NPP parliamentary candidate for that constituency. Thank you very much for your time here. You know, all of them come with a book. He's such a tech savvy. He came with a green book, the Bible on the...
I came with a document.
All right, thank you very much for your time. He's in a hurry to leave. You need some fresh air, don't you?
No. It was a tough program today.
All right.
It wasn't easy for you.
We'll see you same time tomorrow. All right.